Um, just a moment of clarity. I am not a Columbus native. I'm from New York City, New York, hence the Biggie shirt. But I've been in Columbus for a long time now, and it's my second home. And I'm very happy for the community that I've built here in Columbus, and I'm very happy to be talking today at Making Midwest. So, thank you everybody for coming out this morning. Anybody go to the after party last night at Block Fort? Awesome. I was going to go, but I felt like I'd better prepare for this presentation, so I decided to go home. But a lot of good artists and community down at Block Fort, so kudos to the people who went out and attended. So again, my name is Corey Favor. I'm New York City native. I am a 9 to 5. I'm an associate UI and digital art director at The Ohio State University. Also co-founder of Creative Control Fest, which is a conference celebrating diversity in creative industries, and owner of the CreativeShop.com and apparel brand, CCAD alum. Favorite sports team, New York Knicks, and some of my shows that I love, any Simpsons fans in the house? It's the best show ever. You can argue against that if you want, but I think you'll lose. The Wire, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Parks and Rec, and The Office, and my favorite superhero is Spider-Man. So a good friend always told me you should start a talk with a quote. I'm a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan, and I just wanted to put this up because I think all us creatives can relate to this. I'm not going to read it aloud. I'm hoping everybody in here can read, so if not, I will. Just raise your hand. But yeah, it's always good to kind of break the ice with a quote. So I'm not as young as I look. I'm an 80s baby. Any other 80s babies in the crowd? Cool. 80s babies, the 80s was an amazing time. I loved it because of He-Man, Toys and cartoons were the big things, big takeaways for me out of the 80s. Also Arnold and Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, it was a lot of testosterone, growing up. I spent a lot of time watching these movies, and these guys were like superheroes to me. G.I. Joe, another great toy and show that I enjoyed in the 80s. Transformers, here's another one. I don't like the Michael Bay movies as much, but, they make a lot of money. And Thundercats, that's another good one. But my favorite toy of all time is Legos. Any Lego fans in the building? I can remember, asking my mom every time we go to the grocery store for Lego sets. Some of my favorite Lego sets were the space ones. This is OG Legos too, not the new stuff. This is before. What's the ones that were like the bio with the head and all that? Yeah, Bionicle. I couldn't get into that, man. It was, it wasn't part of the system, But I enjoyed, the space Legos, castle Legos, town Legos. But my favorite were the pirate Legos, the Black Seas Barracuda. So I can remember a time when I was probably about, 7 or 8. My godmother got me this pirate ship. And my mom never got it for me, and then I finally got it for my birthday. And I was just, super excited about this thing. It was huge, close to 1,000 pieces. It had the minifigures. It had, the crow's nest. And I played with this thing for hours. It might have took me about 2 weeks to put this thing together. Because I didn't want it to end, I enjoyed the illustrations of Legos and putting these intricate pieces together to make something, and kind of following these detailed instructions and building piece by piece into something that, you can play with for hours and hours. So after taking so much time and enjoyment playing with this thing and building it, I had it on display in a playroom of mine down in the basement. So I would go downstairs, I had a little sister. I have a little sister. She can never touch it. I was like, don't touch my pirate ship. You can play with everything else, but not my pirate ship. So I remember playing with this thing for hours and weeks. And one day we had some in-laws or some family members come to the house. And one of my mother's cousins, he had been drinking. And he goes to sleep in the basement because we had like a spare room down there. And, I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should bring my pirate ship upstairs, right? I really don't trust this guy. My mom says he's cool, but it's something about him. So I was like, nah, I'll sleep it off. I'll go pick it up in the morning. So then I go downstairs the next day. First thing on my mind, bring my ship upstairs to my room, and I find my ship in pieces. So apparently this fool had picked it up and was looking at it and dropped it. And I was devastated. At this point, I'm like, I'm too young to like beat this guy up. And I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? I spent all these hours building this thing, and I'm left with these pieces, right? And this was when, years later when I started thinking, and the reason why I put this story into my presentation is because it kind of parallels my creative path, right? I've always been a person who kind of puts pieces together to try to make something. And, in this situation at this time, I'm left with, trying to follow instructions to build something, or can I take these pieces and follow instructions to build the same thing, or take these pieces and build something new? So making away with no instructions. So I moved here in 98 to attend Columbus College of Art and Design. CCAD prepared me professionally, but not culturally. I didn't have a great cultural experience here, but and as soon as I graduated, I wanted to get back to New York. I wanted to get back home and kind of, figure things out. So I had ambitions of being in the fashion industry. So I took my talents back home. I wanted to work for clothing companies doing graphic tees and designing clothes. And I had a couple interviews with some prominent urban design companies, Rockaware, Echo, and Sean John. And I remember going to these interviews and with a portfolio but no direction. And I would get in there and I would have great work, but they were kind of unorganized and really didn't know where to fit this young creative. So I was kind of devastated when I never got the job. And I felt like, professionally, I might not have been good enough at the time. So I came back to Columbus kind of defeated, but also inspired to say, and I remember having a conversation with my mom saying, Mom, I tried, I couldn't get a job, so I'm gonna make one. So I took my classmate and my roommate, and we started a business called Milk Crate Concepts. We specialize in graphic design, website design, and full color printing. And we had an office on 4th and Main Street downtown, if anybody's familiar with the Columbus area. This was before 16-bit. This was before the taco place and, hipster row, I like to call it sometimes. But it was very ambitious, and I was in my early 20s, and I really wanted to, make money for myself and establish myself as a creative. During that time, I found a niche market. I would go back home, and mixtapes were really popular. I'm a huge hip-hop fan and music in general. And there was it was a huge entertainment scene at the time that Columbus didn't have, and visually, there wasn't an aesthetic for it. So that was our niche. We found a printer. This was before smartphones, so I found a printer out of Cleveland. Jack Prince was my first printer. And we hustled. I mean, I would do print runs twice a week in a 96 Maxima, driving, packed down, with boxes of flyers, and we would do full color printing and design work for local bars, nightclub promoters, small businesses. And it was a great time. I mean, we were building community at the time, little did I know, and really making a name for ourselves. Some of our clients we had weren't entertainment clients, but we also had, City of Cleveland, Hilton, Pepsi, CCAD we did some work for, Diplomat Records, The Ohio State University. And as I look back at this journey, I was that kid again, digging in this box of ideas and kind of piecing, my own career together. So what happens when the pieces don't always fit? So Milk Crate we were in business for about 3.5 years. My only issue, I think, that I didn't pick great business partners. So what I took from that was it was never a great idea. I mean, it was a great idea, but I probably should have selected different pieces. So we dissolved the company due to partnership disagreements and kind of went our separate ways. So then I felt like that kid again, right? When my ship had broken to these pieces and I'm right back at the same point, like, what do I do now? So I was depressed. I had a serious girlfriend at the time. We had plans of getting married. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? So through my time at Milk Crate, I had made a lot of great partnerships in the city of Columbus. It was a gentleman I knew that worked for Radio 1 Columbus by the name of Johannan Terrell. And he reached out and said, hey, man, we're looking for a graphic designer here at the radio station. Do you know anybody? I said, yeah, I can do it, So I started working at Radio 1 as a digital support coordinator and graphic designer for the Cleveland and Columbus markets. Met a lot of celebrities, got to do a little bit of traveling. and I was kind of back in the business of entertainment design again, but on the corporate standpoint. And looking back, I wouldn't have had these type of experiences if I didn't take that leap of faith and kind of build my business and really start to take roots in Columbus and get outside of my normal 9 to 5 and really explore the city of Columbus. So I was at the radio station for about 3 years, and then I got a phone call from another friend that I met at my time in Columbus who worked for the Ohio State University in the athletics department. And kind of the same scenario. Hey man, we're looking for a graphic designer, at the athletics department. Do you know anybody? I said, yeah, I know a guy, me. I think I can do the job. So I started working at the Ohio State University. And during that time there, I worked in the, for the creative services department. It was a small team of about 4 or 5 designers, 36 sports, and we all kind of project-led 6 to 7 teams individually, and then our main focus was football. So I worked with, my teams were gymnastics, men's and women's basketball, field hockey, and a few others. So I got to do some graphics on the Schottenstein Arena a few years ago. They were pretty cool. So I was in athletics for about 3 years, and it's crazy because, like I said, in my earlier career of building community and putting pieces together, I see that paralleling in my professional career at The Ohio State University. So I met a lot of people on campus, and I came upon an opportunity to transition out of traditional graphic design into the more interactive space. So I started working in university marketing. During that time, I did do some print stuff, but it was, broader and enterprise work and initiatives. And I really enjoyed that work because I wasn't siloed into one section of Ohio State. I wanted to kind of expand my professional expertise and horizons. So I was able to do that in this new role. Did some work for the Alumni magazine, and then I transitioned into the interactive space where I'm at now, working on most of our digital properties and digital units, and overseeing a team of interactive designers building websites and mobile applications. These are some of my wireframes. Any interactive designers in the house? Cool. Did I do a good job on these? These look pretty good. Thank you. Not bad for a graphic designer, right? This is actually one of our newest websites. So in university marketing, we're all about transitioning the conversation and rebalancing that conversation. A lot of people, the narrative of Ohio State is always athletics, and in marketing, we're trying to highlight those other stories, research-based stories, to give people a different perspective of what the Ohio State University has to offer. We always joke that ESPN probably controls that brand more than we do. And we just try to give another perspective to the work and the outcomes that are happening at the university. So this site actually just won a CASE award. Anybody who's in education might know what a CASE award is. So we just won a CASE award, so pretty proud about that. Here goes some more slides. So yeah, after being in the corporate world, educational space, I kind of came into a crossroads to want to be an entrepreneur again. And a buddy of mine by the name of Marshall Shorts, some people might be familiar with him, we went to school together, came up with the great idea of starting a conference celebrating diversity in creative industries. The issue was that the higher up I was going and the more connections I was meeting in the creative space, I didn't see people that looked like me. And I felt like that was... it was saddened. I didn't have any heroes, so if I can create an opportunity for other people to have heroes or to have those conversations with content that's inclusive to everybody, but also, diverse topics that help break those stereotypes that you might see in creative industries. So we started a conference 7 years ago. Creative Control Fest, the website's creativecontrolfest.com if you want some more information. So we have it annually in the Lincoln Theater, which is, 2 or 3 blocks east of here. And we've had, a gambit of speakers, Jeremy Slagle, David Butler. The list goes on and on. I'm drawing a blank up here, but, amazing to create something bigger than yourself. And I felt like, I wouldn't have gotten to this space if I didn't start my business, over almost 20 years ago and start building that sense of community. And I feel like it just kind of evolved into this. So as we continue to grow, we just want to keep the conversation of creative diversity at the forefront of creative industries. Let people know that there are designers of color, and that we're out here. I had a gentleman that I met yesterday who said that Chris was his first speaker of color that he had ever been introduced to. And I feel like, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and I'm very excited of the community that I've built here in Columbus and continue to build, and just being inclusive and able to provide a platform for creatives of color, but also set a stage for people like me and people that are better than me to excel. So here's some more speakers that we've had. Dr. Sonia Mignon up here in the corner. Adrian Franks, who works for IBM, also works for Spike Lee. Dawn Dixon, who's huge in the tech space. Tom Burrell, who's huge in advertising. So yeah, just sharing these stories. So that's about it. In closing, I just want to say that, your professional career, there's no instructions to this. You kind of just put pieces together, and make it your own. I'm always a fan of, and I like to say that I want to die empty. I want to try everything before my time is, expired on this earth, and I don't want to leave anything behind. So I enjoy working with creatives and collaborating. Thank you for this time, and any questions, please let me know. But that's about it.